to This Works For Us. I'm Tia Jackson, and this is my husband,
Rashawn, and better known as Sean.
Today we're going to hop into a topic, how two became one. So basically the podcast today will be about how Tia and Rashawn became one. Some of the things that we did to make sure that we aligned ourselves with each other so that we could make decisions together and be in unison.
So, today's topic, how the two became one.
So, the first thing I think we should talk about is just that the first thing that we decided together was to always put God first.
Yes.
And because we decided to do that, we have a happy marriage. We are 9 years strong.
10 later on this year.
And we could probably count, no, not probably, we can count on our fingers how many times we have actually had a fallout, drag out argument. 0.
Hey, wasn't playing, baby. You see that? You saw it?
0. Now, we're not saying we don't have discussions or disagreements, but we don't have arguments.
At all.
And that's because God is head of our life.
Exactly. That's what brought us together in the first place. Outside of that, one of the second things we talked about was finances. That's a very important part of that because that can either make or break a relationship. So thankfully, I wasn't a huge spender, and you necessarily wasn't one either. So it wasn't like we was going for broke. Can't go for broke when you're already there. So so to have those discussions of money, like of who's going to do what. One of the main things we decided was a financial institution that we would use. I had 2 at the time, I believe, and then you just had the one. And ultimately, my main one I closed, and your main one, because you only had the one, we decided to use the other one that I had. So there's no other bank accounts. We used that one, and my check went in there, her check went in there. And when it goes into that one, it became ours. It wasn't an issue of where if you was gonna spend too much money or something like that. No, we had those discussions.
I think it was fairly easy for us, like I literally was like, would you mind if I handled the monthly bills every month? I would feel a lot more comfortable if I can track it. And I would say not so much of a control thing, just because I want to be knowledgeable what's going on and how it's being done. And I don't mind sharing that information, and I make sure that I involve him in any huge decisions that we're making. But I also track it. I also write it down. It's in an Excel sheet, so the information is readily available to him. But it was just something that, because I was independent for so long, it just felt like giving that up would be a struggle for me. And so we talked about it, and I just asked, if that was something that he would mind. And thankfully, Sean is pretty easygoing, so it wasn't a big conversation. And then it was history from there. I mean, we never ever struggled with finances or arguing about, what we would spend the money on. Most of it made sense. We pay our bills, and whatever we had left over, we discuss it.
Yep, we discussed everything. Hey, I want to pay this amount on this bill and then this amount on that one. Because something we learned in the beginning, or more so me, you know, if there's a bill and the remaining balance is $200, and if we have the money for it, let's just pay it, get it over with. Me at the time was like, ho fam, let's take our time. We can pay this much. About, you know, I know the monthly may be 25, but anyway, I'll go 50, and then we can, you know, go from there. Because at that time we didn't really know anything about an emergency fund or have a true savings to help out with anything. So it was just like, all right, whatever's left, that's deemed as an emergency if anything popped up. But I had to quickly learn, and it's worked out. It's worked out better that way. If we have it, to just pay the complete balance, just pay it and be done with it. It's just nothing to just keep going on and on and on about. So that's one thing that we don't have any issues doing now.
And I'll elaborate why he might have struggled with that in the beginning, because what he says, you know, the bill was $200 and that's all we had left. We may have had $300 in our account, and so I want to pay the $200 and leave us with $100 for, you know, the next 2 weeks. I'm like, we could do this, we can make it work, but next month we won't have that bill to pay. So I could see why that was an adjustment that needed to be made in his mind. Like, man, we can just pay 50 and we have, you know, this extra left over just in case. But I was more like, what emergency? There's no emergency. Let's just pay this bill off. Either way, it ended up working out for us, especially when we went on started our debt-free journey.
Yeah, and that was a huge breakthrough, but we won't get too deep into that. We'll save that for another show. Another thing that we talked about was having kids. Whether we were, you know, you had the hope of 4, and I looked at her like, 4, okay. Mine was always 2 and a possible at the time. 2 and a possible. And that possible is if the third one came, cool. And if it didn't, cool. But 2 was the magic number for me. But right now we're gonna meet in the middle and worry about 3 at this point. But that's something we had to talk about. Now, do you think that was because I don't think since we both had those aspirations, do you think that was a deal breaker in the beginning?
No, I mean, you don't really know how many kids you want until you actually have kids. And then you go through the process. And so, you know, quickly I learned after the first child that maybe 4 is a little bit more than what I could handle. And, you know, we waited, right? So, you know, we were married 5 years. About 5 years before we had our first child. And so, you know, maybe
no, it was 5. Yeah, 5.
Yeah. Maybe if we, you know, had children like right at the beginning, you know, early, you know, late 20s, you know, then maybe 4, you know, maybe I would have had the energy for 4. But, you know, having your first kid at 32, 33.
I almost changed my mind after Kennedy got here.
So, said, you know, it was like, whoa, buddy, like,
I needed this.
You know, I'm tired.
And it's a strange thing is that with Kylie, it was like expected, actually unexpected, but expected. And we kind of dealt with that and got used to it. So before Kennedy came, it's like, okay, we went through everything. We know what to expect. I didn't take account of, obviously, me getting older. And it was just about 2 years. That was 34 when Kylie came, and then obviously 36 when Kennedy, all before I turned the next age. Either way, man, those mornings was rough. I could not I'm thinking about it now. I'm like, oh. Thankfully, she sleeps through the night now. But at that time, oh my goodness, it was like, this is it. I remember. Was it
Yeah.
She like 3 months, and I was like, hey.
Yeah.
I'm
He was
good.
like,
I'm good.
I'm not having.
I'm good. I did not want.
I didn't let go. Like I didn't want. I don't think I ever thought that I wanted to stop at 2. But you know, I was on the verge of, you know, I was tired. And you know, one of the things that I don't think we accounted for is we did have a lot of help. With Kylie, you know.
Thank you, Mom. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. She was there the whole entire year with us, you know, and so, you know, it was easy to say we need a break, you know, here's the baby, and then go out. But you know, with Kennedy, we were finally like on our own, and you know, learning this and getting used to, you know, and making a routine, which we had, but we didn't have because we were so blessed to have his mom with us for a year. So once, you know, she was gone and the reality hit, it was like, it was like I can't breathe. I can't breathe. How do we do this?
You hit me up out of nowhere.
It's like
I was was I in the game room? I think it was in the game room. I don't know. But you came. You know how we men are. We just mind our business. We don't know anything's wrong or what the thoughts may be. But you came out of there and said, "Hey,
like
I'm gonna need." No, that's not how that works.
It should work that way.
No. You came out of there and said, "Hey, you need to help out with this, that, and this." I was like, "Oh, okay. But where is this coming from?" I'm getting hit. I think she just left like the yesterday, something like that.
Yeah, it was right
away. My God.
But listen,
quickly.
This brings us into communication. Okay. So if I don't say anything and I expect him and I expect him to read my mind, then I'm gonna be walking around pissed off, basically, because he doesn't understand why I'm feeling the way I'm feeling. And so in that moment, it felt like I need to say whatever I need to say about the fact that we need this routine and you need to help in the morning and you need to do this. Mm-hmm. And I think what I've learned over the years is that, you know, I think women in general expect for their mate, their spouse, their partner to just know, right? It's common sense. Why don't you know X, Y, Z? Well, you know, just being married and then also sitting through like services, you know, with our pastor, we are two different,
wired totally different,
you know, beings, and we interpret and do things totally different. And in order to make it work, communication is huge. And I'm not talking like we're not, you know, we're disagreeing and we can't get on the same page and, you know, we're yelling and screaming at each other.
Right.
I'm talking like I need to process this in my brain, and then I need to figure out how I can communicate it to him so that he understands without it feeling like I'm attacking him or basically telling him that he's not doing anything and he needs to pick up the slack.
He can feel like that.
So I'm very strategic in how I try to communicate so that I'm considerate of his feelings, but I'm also getting my point across where, you know, I'm not feeling like I'm not being heard or I don't have the support.
I've learned as well from an experience that I've had in the past where I don't hold anything in. I don't hold it in. If it's on my mind, I have to talk about it right then and there, because all that does is just harbor any, you know, it just, you know, could cause issues, basically. If I don't talk about it then, it's just gonna be bad. So I've learned to just, if it's on my mind, let's talk about it. or I just have to just speak on it, period. It may not be something that we necessarily get into a discussion about, but we'll talk on it. I just can't keep it on just, I'll save it for another day. Nope, it's come out right then and there. Don't need my blood pressure going up. Nope, I just gotta get it out. Get it out.
I think one of the other things that helps us along the way is, once we talk about it and we discuss it thoroughly and we've come to a conclusion, that is it. Nobody is bringing it up 2 months later about, what that person did and how they did it. Like we talked it through. We've made a plan and we stuck to that plan.
We did that stuff.
Yeah,
son.
and there's no reason to continue to bring it up. And, I think the other part is, a lot of times we laugh about it, maybe 3 months after the fact, or we'll it becomes a joke in the household, and that's how we, get past it. But we never hold grudges against each other. We just let it go and move on and just enjoy each other.
Mm-hmm.
That reminds me of we have a running joke now.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't like grocery shopping. We'll just let that be known. I even say that I'm allergic to the grocery store. So Sean has graciously taken the role of ordering our groceries because we don't go to the grocery store. I mean, probably half of the world does it these days. But he would...
Part of the budget.
So he would go and put everything online and figure out the groceries. And then I'd be like in the middle of a movie or I'd be in the middle of something and he'd be like, hey, can you look at the grocery list?
Slide that thing over quick, like, hey,
I'm like,
check that out real quick.
I'm not watching. I'm not in the middle of a movie. Like, I'm just going to go ahead and pause it so I can review the grocery list. So anyway, I say that to say now that anytime someone's doing something and they're in the middle of it and somebody interrupts them, we say grocery list. So just to remind us, like, dude, you're like, I'm in the middle of something and you're interrupting us. So that's just an example of how we create something that may have been annoying to the other, how we make it a joke in the house.
Yeah, so make it light, make it fun. There's no issues there, but I low-key did that yesterday and you totally disregarded the whole list. So usually,
but we have whatever you order.
Whatever I get, that's what we got. Now I don't want to hear nothing. Hey, did you get this? Didn't I ask you?
What was I doing? I was doing something.
It's
always like when I'm like in the middle of
you weren't really doing nothing.
Watching something or paying bills. Yeah, I think I was paying bills. Like, just stop what you're doing and look at the grocery list.
When I tell you I slid it over.
You don't get that grocery list out my face right now.
And I look like this, like.
Pushed it right back over. I mean, at this point, he should know. Especially like two things. If I am doing the budget, I am hyper focused on the numbers. Like, don't even have a conversation with me because I don't hear anything that you're saying. And the same thing when I'm binge watching a show. I don't hear you. I don't hear you.
Yeah, I know.
And obviously that has trickled down to our daughter. She doesn't hear anything when she's on the iPad.
There, we'll talk about that later.
Anything else that you can think of that we discussed or that helped us become one?
Just, those are, I think, the main points. There's so many other little things that we do, but those are the key things that, helped us become one. So
I do have something else to add.
Okay, all right.
I think we are like really opposites, like polar opposites, really. Like I am an introvert. by nature, and Sean is extremely extroverted, even though he says that he's
I am very shy.
We all know that.
Shy.
A lie detector determined that was a lie. And so one of the biggest things for me is that I had to learn how to give a little bit, right? I would rather stay in the house. I would rather not meet new people. I could go without talking to anybody and just stay in my little bubble, which is uber ironic because my position, my job in life is people. So it's crazy. But naturally, people exhaust me. So talking to people for hours on end and just, exercising that energy, like by the time I'm done, I'm super exhausted. But my point is, that's not who he is. And so I had to give a little bit of me to make sure that my spouse had what he needed. And so, there were times where I didn't want to go to a social event, but I said, okay, we can compromise. Can we stay for, an hour versus 3 hours, or an hour and a half versus 3 hours? And he was willing to do that for me. And so that helped me get through this, I guess, I don't know if it was like socially awkward, because once I get there, I'm,
that's what I'm saying. Like, people that probably hear this right now, like,
I can tell you that there are people at church that probably see my face and like, maybe in the beginning, not so much now, but see my face and like, ooh, she always looks like she is not approachable or friendly. And so, not so much anymore. And I think it's true when they say, like, how they say, you start to look like your spouse, like people like say that you start to look like. I think that it's not just in your physical traits, like your characteristics and your personality start to mesh together well, and then you start to mimic some of the things that each other does. So in the very beginning, I did not want to do anything social.
Oh yeah, it was like pulling teeth.
Yes, it was very, very hard for me. But now, excuse me. But now I feel like I'm in the middle. I still want to be home. I'm not gonna say that I don't. I'm still not introverted in some ways, but I am very much extroverted in some ways now as well.
Yeah, I'm just extrovert.
Yes, he did not take on my introverted.
Not at all.
Ways.
But I am shy. I don't do a lot of things, so I keep to myself.
Now, any of you who are watching this video and know Rashawn Jackson knows that he does not have one shy bone in his body.
Speak
and he talks to the gas station people. He talks to people who have the same color car as he does. He talks to people at the grocery store, at Walmart, in the parking lot. I mean, he just talks to everybody. He talks to our neighbors. He's friends with these people. I don't even know their names. They know my name, but I don't even know their names.
Sad.
But that's just, that's just.
I don't be talking to everybody.
You do talk.
I do not.
You do. You do.
No.
It's okay. It's alright. But you do. Well, that's our time tonight, folks. So thank you for joining in. Please make sure to like, subscribe, and share.
Oh, okay. Look at you. Yeah, what she said. Do all that what she just said. All right. Okay, you got it.
God bless.
God bless you. Thank you.